Hello everybody, I'm going to continue the theme of Zuzalu, but I will be talking about ZuVillage Georgia. I'm going to touch upon these different components, but we already heard quite a bit about the Zuzalu side of things. So I wanted to give a bit of context of the network state and Zuzalu and focus on what was different, whereas a network state in Balaji's terms would start with a moral commandment and align around that single vision. Zuzalu was focused on the experiment. There wasn't already an alignment that people agreed upon before attending. It focused on, as we heard, 2 months, 200 people, shared digital physical infrastructure, a focus on Web3, ZK, permissionless scheduling. And what happened since then, Zuzalu, as we heard, has become more of a movement. This year was filled with decentralized zoo events, as well as a coordination for digital public goods, this tech stack, as we see with Zuzalu.city. That is an open source platform meant to power these temporary and eventually permanent hubs with a very strict focus on being decentralized for long-term resilience, digital sovereignty, and you could call it a network union in Balaji's terms. With ZuVillage, we came up with a protocol as the question started being asked last year, is Zuzalu a new culture? Burns and I, we asked ourselves what could be the most magnificent use case for a new culture that originates out of Zuzalu. And with a focus on truth-seeking, we wanted the foundation to be truth and truthfulness as the cultural foundation, and then trust and trustworthiness for coordination, as we're familiar with in Web3, and inspired by the defensive accelerationism philosophy by Vitalik, we wanted to call that the civilizatory roadmap. So building is fun, but also building with a vision for defensive acceleration of technology. We also landed on a clear mission statement of laying foundations for a transnational cypherpunk network. With this protocol, we then organized ZuVillage Georgia to be a prototype event to prove this concept, adding certain additions to Zuzalu with stricter curation, collecting maps, tools, and even builders for Zuzalu.city that I'll talk further about. This is a quick timeline, so representatives from, and I should say the country of Georgia, there's been some misunderstanding there, invited Zuzalu because they saw what happened in Montenegro, and then along with Zuzalu.city team, Burns and I, we initiated the experiment. It took about half a year, and it just happened. We're still digesting the experience. We wanted to bring in builders, truth seekers, and sovereign individuals. We spent quite a bit of time trying to curate the right people that would be there. We did, of course, some amount of marketing, but as cypherpunks, we didn't give photos or videos, but fortunately with AI, we could approximate it a little bit. We focused on the fact that we were co-building a temporary crypto city. We want to be able to test and actually use Web3 tools. That's something I think is a very unique value add of these extended events where you have builders together. You also have people willing to adopt and test tools that maybe have difficulty gaining adoption elsewhere. We also had a focus on cognitive sovereignty in addition to digital sovereignty with pre-orientation and a first week dedicated to it, which I'll talk a bit further about in a second. With our application form, it was a bit longer than you usually have if you're trying to apply for an event. We weren't looking for specific answers, but rather critical thinking and at least some amount of thoughtful effort. My favorite question was, describe a belief that you have updated in the last 1 to 2 years, because we wanted to both prime applicants and optimize for attendees that have the ability or are willing to update beliefs with new information, empiricism. So we wanted to bring in the essence of Zuzalu as much as possible, bringing everything from the left that we identified was key to Zuzalu, and then adding, as mentioned, this cognitive sovereignty curriculum with the thesis that collective decision-making or sense-making is going to become dysfunctional if you do not prioritize the individual mind, this cognitive sovereignty level. So we wanted to ask what happens if you have a Zuzalu event, but seed that as much as possible, along with these other elements. Quickly in the numbers, we had 6 to 8 to the 8 weeks of Zuzalu. It was about the same cost with a bit less flexibility for financial aid per person, an operational cost, $350,000. This was our schedule. I'm going to go quickly. We did have enforced and enforceable privacy rules, which led to high privacy standards. We did also learn that being unclear with decision-making structure also gave room for things to be added to a narrative that didn't exist. Quickly, some photos from the experience. We focused on unconference-style debates, discussions, experiments. We had a number of projects that were supported. Here's quickly about technology. I've talked about Zuzalu.city. We also had Scroll with this NFT. Blockful, Lotto PGF were other teams that were building, and we tested while we were there. And then finally, what's next? We're working on an experimental retrospective. We're supporting other experiments to try implementing our protocol, working with Zuzalu.city to see how we can actually make it a protocol of some sort for events to be able to sign on to. We'll continue exploring potential permanent hub possibilities around the world, and I'm also now leading operations for Zuzalu.city. So you can follow ZuVillage on the left. I'm also working on uploading all the videos from this summer, so we have a handful on YouTube already. You can also follow me there. Thank you so much.